What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, January 8th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 10:18 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from all over the world. Want to just start off by showing you guys some flight paths. Right now, we have a U.S. nuclear war command and control plane up in the air over Georgia. And what's interesting is it was actually flying in circles here in southeastern Georgia. So, pretty interesting. And we also have a South Korean Air Force plane flying to Beirut right now from Sri Lanka. Kind of a weird flight in the middle of the night, this South Korean Air Force plane going to Lebanon. I don't know if they're going to be evacuating people out of Lebanon, but there's already been several European countries and North American countries that have issued evacuation orders for their citizens to basically leave Lebanon as soon as possible. We have Canada, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and some others I forgot, but at least a dozen countries now asking people to leave Lebanon because it looks like the war in the Middle East is about to expand. We have Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in Israel right now, basically going there to try to talk Netanyahu down from going into Lebanon and attacking Hezbollah. So things are going to get crazy, guys. We just finished the first week of 2024, and it's been absolutely insane. We've had multiple missile strikes in Ukraine. Russia fired massive amounts of missiles at Ukraine. We had North Korea fire hundreds of artillery shells into South Korean waters, and South Korea has withdrew from the 2018 buffer zone agreement with North Korea. We've had several attacks on U.S. bases already. So things are really getting crazy, and it's only the first week of 2024. We also have a U.S. aerial refueler operating over northern Iraq. Want to just update you on this British fighter jet that was flying along the East Coast. It appears to have flown south to South Carolina, and it looks like it either landed somewhere in South Carolina or it turned its transponder off. But it first turned its transponder on off the coast of Long Island over here, okay, near the Hampton beaches, where all the super rich people have summer homes. And looks like it flew along the eastern seaboard, and then it turned its transponder off near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So very interesting. Want to just quickly update you guys on the weather. We have a massive Arctic blast coming to North America next week. What you're looking at here are temperature departures from normal, and you can see this huge area of pink coming down from Canada and spreading into the United States. We have multiple states that are going to see temperatures 40 to 50 degrees below normal. Okay, so you're talking about single digits for high temperatures across much of the United States. That's going to put a huge strain on our power grid. So make sure you guys have alternate sources of heat. Make sure you have sleeping bags. Make sure you have snowshoes. Make sure you have proper winter gear, winter clothing. It's essential, okay? Look what happened a few years back in Texas when there was that Arctic blast that came down into Texas, and 100 people died because they froze to death in their homes because they didn't have alternate sources of heat. They didn't have proper winter gear to keep themselves warm. Also, in your vehicle, you should keep a winter survival kit, okay? Make sure you have warm clothing, boots, hat, gloves. Okay, I even keep some firewood in my vehicle in case I get stranded and I can't keep warm in my vehicle. I can start a fire outside of the vehicle. And make sure you also keep some kind of recovery boards in your vehicle. So if you do get stuck in some deep snow, you slide off into a ditch or something and there's no one there to pull you out, you can stick the boards under your wheels, your drive wheels, and you can drive out on the boards, okay? So we also have this forecasted snowfall map going through the end of next week, and you can see multiple areas of the U.S. covered in feet of snow, okay? And we have a lot of weather warnings across the United States right now. We have winter storm warnings across much of the Midwest. There's a massive blizzard raging right now in the Midwest and the Central Plains. Okay, snowfall of up to a foot expected with winds of up to 60 miles per hour. We're going to get snow here in north central Pennsylvania, and the Appalachians are going to get snow tomorrow. But look at all these wind advisories, guys. The entire eastern and southern U.S. under wind advisories. There's a massive nor'easter heading towards the northeast right now. There's going to be more rain tomorrow in the northeast in coastal places like Long Island and Massachusetts, Connecticut. They could see a lot of flooding, a lot of wind, up to 70-mile-per-hour winds. So much of the country is under some kind of advisory. And in the Northwest, we have blizzard warnings. We have winter storm warnings. Okay, so wanted to just share that with you. There is a high chance of power outages over the next 2 days in the northeastern U.S., especially for the big cities, New York City, Boston, D.C., and that entire corridor, okay, where you have probably 50 to 100 million people living in. Could be widespread power outages due to strong winds, okay? And we had a 7.0 magnitude earthquake in Indonesia this evening, okay? It struck right over here, and this is very, very concerning, guys, okay? 7.0 magnitude earthquake near Kepulauan Talaud, Indonesia, okay? And I want to just share this video coming out of Iraq at some base in Iraq showing the CRAM system shooting out some drones that were fired at the base. If you don't know what the CRAM is, it's basically a giant machine gun with giant bullets, and it can automatically lock onto artillery shells, mortar shells, aircraft, missiles, and fire its machine gun at anything that flies within its operational area. Okay, so this is pretty crazy to see this actually happening at one of our bases. Okay, our bases are literally being attacked every single day, and the media is no longer reporting on it because it makes Biden look bad that our bases have been attacked hundreds of times. Okay, they're keeping quiet about it because we're going into an election in just 11 months. Okay.
Oh shit.
So it looks like they hit the drone right there, and that noise is the CRAM, okay? That's the machine gun firing hundreds and hundreds of 20, I think it's 25 millimeter bullets, which are just absolutely insane. Basically make a 50 cal look like a 22, okay? These bullets are massive, and it's just insane, the rate of fire and the accuracy of these things. Let's just watch that again.
Oh shit.
So, I mean, it looks like a full-on war is raging over there in Iraq, okay? So I want to just update you guys on some of the latest in Israel and Ukraine. Israeli officials have now officially claimed responsibility for the strike on southern Lebanon earlier today, which resulted in the assassination of top Hezbollah commander of the Radwan Special Operations Forces, Wissam al-Tawil. Okay, so Israel taking out another top commander. Okay, they took out the second in command of Hamas. They took out the head of the IRGC, the guy who was doing all the logistics for the IRGC in Iraq and Syria. Now they take out this guy. And apparently, Israel is now on high alert after this assassination. And the Jordanian foreign minister has confirmed to the French foreign minister by phone today that the risk of the war expanding in the region increases with the continued killing and destruction in the Gaza Strip. And a rocket truck operated by the Iranian-backed militants was reportedly struck earlier by coalition forces while it was attempting to launch rockets towards U.S. forces at the Al-Assad Air Base in western Iraq. The strike caused several explosions to be heard by locals near the base. Okay, so looks like the U.S. launched another airstrike in Iraq in self-defense. Okay, and that's what we've been doing, is just responding. We haven't taken the fight to these militias. We just respond. Anytime they attack our bases, we just respond. That's not a strategy, guys. That is terrible. Okay, one of our soldiers right now is in intensive care because he got hit with shrapnel in the head, okay, on Christmas Day when there was that Christmas Day attack on the U.S. base. I reported on it. Some of you guys might remember that. Most of you guys probably don't remember. There was a massive attack on a U.S. air base in Iraq on Christmas Day, and one of these soldiers got a bunch of shrapnel lodged in his brain, okay? This guy has a wife and a son, and now he's in the hospital with shrapnel in his brain, okay? Very sad situation. And war may break out in Sweden, warned the Minister of Defense of Sweden during the National Society and Defense Conference in Sälen, Sweden. Carl Oskar Bolin pointed out that Sweden had enjoyed peace for over 2 centuries, but after Russia's aggression against Ukraine, it was necessary to strengthen civil defense. For a nation for whom peace has been a pleasant companion for almost 210 years, the idea that it is an immovable constant is conveniently close at hand, Swedish Civil Defense Minister Carl Oskar Bolin said Sunday during an annual conference in Sälen, a village on the country's eastern side. But taking comfort in this conclusion has become more dangerous than it has been for a very long time, he continued. Many have said it before me, but let me do it in an official capacity more plainly and with naked clarity. There could be war in Sweden, okay? So that is very concerning, guys. The Swedish defense minister saying there could be war in Sweden. And we've heard the same thing from Denmark a few weeks back. I reported on it. The defense minister of Denmark said weeks ago that Denmark needs to prepare for a protracted war with Russia. And he said that Danish society needs to be prepared for civil emergencies. People need to start stockpiling food and supplies. So very concerning. A lot of the Scandinavian countries are concerned about a war with Russia. And Russia reports that there was another shelling of Belgorod this evening. Apparently 3 were wounded in Belgorod by debris as a result of air defense working to intercept Ukrainian rockets that were fired at Belgorod. According to Moscow, the city was hit by rockets from the Czech Vampir launchers. Ukraine was blamed for the attack. The system is produced in cooperation by the Czech Tatra plant and the Slovak company ZTS Dubnica. Russia has previously accused the Czech Republic. At the end of 2023, on December the 30th, the Russians reported shelling of Belgorod, as a result of which 25 people were killed and over 100 injured. Russia then demanded a meeting of the UN Security Council, demanding the presence of the Czech permanent representative to explain what weapons Ukraine used. And the Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipovsky said that Prague would not take part in the meeting, which will serve as a poisoned lie for the aggressor's propaganda. However, he added that Czech representatives would be happy to come if Russia wanted to discuss the withdrawal of its troops from Ukraine. Russia has partially evacuated Belgorod and has requests for further evacuations following the Ukrainian airstrikes in recent days. About 300 residents from the city have been temporarily moved to safety further from the border. Belgorod region's governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said on Monday. Okay, so they're evacuating people from Belgorod. Belgorod is basically a city at war now. Okay, Ukraine has struck Belgorod several times in the last week, and looks like they launched some more rockets at Belgorod tonight. And the Ukrainian main intelligence directorate confirmed successful strikes on the airfield in Crimea, the Saki airfield. And this update was sponsored by Patriot Supply. Guys, Patriot Supply is doing a 25% off sale on their 4-week emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you have to go to preparewithnYprepper.com. And again, that's 25% off of their 4-week emergency food supply. That's a $60 discount. And the food supply includes over 2,000 calories per day, up to a 25-year shelf life. It's packed into 2 rugged buckets and weighs 38 pounds total. Free shipping is included. And what's great about this is you have 4 weeks of food in just 2 buckets. You can easily put that anywhere. And if you have to bug out, you can easily throw that in your vehicle. Now, Patriot Supply also has a general store where they sell pretty much any prepping and survival related product you could imagine. To get to their general store, you have to go to the Patriot Supply logo at the top of the preparewithnYprepper.com webpage. You click on that logo and it takes you to their general store, and you can see they have pretty much anything you could imagine. They have potassium iodide at a great price. I have a few of these. They also have survival bars, survival seeds, water filters, solar generators, anything you can imagine. So check out preparewithnYprepper.com to get 25% off of the Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. So what you're looking at here is a satellite photo showing the Saki Air Base before and after their strikes. On the left, you can see these buildings, and on the right, you can see holes in the roofs of these buildings, multiple holes. Okay, so Ukraine is really reaching out and touching the Russians. And the Taiwanese Ministry of Defense said that they detected 4 Chinese balloons over the Taiwan Strait today. And they already detected 6 balloons in the last 2 weeks. So that brings the total of 10 balloons that China has sent over the Taiwan Strait in the last 2 weeks or so. Okay, so 4 more today. And Russian troops have unleashed multiple cruise and ballistic missiles at Ukraine earlier this morning or late last night, killing 4 people in Ukraine, wounding over 30, Ukrainian authorities reported. Russia launched a total of 59 missiles and drones at Ukraine overnight and in the morning, the Air Force wrote. Ukraine's air defenses reportedly shot down 18 cruise missiles of the types KH-101 and 8 drones Shahed-136. Those are the Iranian drones. Apart from the cruise missiles, Russian forces also used air-launched ballistic and anti-aircraft guided missiles, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Not all Russian missiles that were downed eventually managed to reach their targets, the Ukrainian military added. Casualties and damages to civilian infrastructure were reported in Zaporizhia, Khmelnytsky, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kharkiv. Okay, so another big missile attack by Russia last night. Okay, and Russia also shelled the Sumy Oblast. That's in the northern part of Ukraine. Okay, 8 communities shelled in the Sumy Oblast in the last 24 hours. So very interesting. They were shelling the crap out of Sumy in the beginning stages of the war, and I find it interesting that they're shelling Sumy again, and they're doing these missile strikes again. And we're also hearing reports that Russia is preparing for their counteroffensive. We have reports that there's at least 20,000 Russian soldiers building up on the border of Ukraine near Belgorod in the Bryansk area, okay, southwestern Russia. So it's possible that Russia might try to take back Kharkiv or some parts of that region, okay? We have to keep an eye on that area. And the foreign minister of Ukraine said that the West is not asking Ukraine to negotiate with Russia on freezing the war. Our allies are not asking us to start talks with Russia in order to freeze the war, neither when we meet with Western delegations nor at closed meetings, he said. Those who suggest a frozen conflict argue that they are acting in the best interests of Ukraine and the world, but in reality, they are helping Putin and ignoring what today's Russia is. Okay, so very interesting. And 2 U.S. fighter jets are set to fly over Bosnia on Monday in a demonstration of support for the Balkan countries' integrity in the face of increasingly secessionist policies of the Bosnian Serb pro-Russia leader Milorad Dodik. The U.S. Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcons will fly as part of a joint air-to-ground training involving American and Bosnian forces. The flyovers will take part in the regions of the eastern town of Tuzla and northern Brko, according to a statement from the U.S. Embassy in Sarajevo. And the energy crisis on the outskirts of Moscow has apparently affected the Russian military. The headquarters in Solnechnogorsk was left without heating. This is the key command post for the country's missile forces. Locally, a state of emergency was introduced in parts of Podolsk. Almost 150,000 people were left without heat, and a state of emergency has been declared. Okay, so absolutely insane, guys. People are freezing in Russia. Okay, there's no heat, there's no electricity. Welcome back to communism. And anti-Israeli protesters are trying to storm the tarmac in Dallas tonight, where Biden has just landed on Air Force One. So I want to just show you guys a picture that was released here showing this vehicle that crashed into the main gate of the White House. And apparently the driver has been arrested and the vehicle has been searched and nothing suspicious was found. But I find it very strange that this vehicle would just suddenly crash into the White House main gate. Okay, we have a lot of these weird things going on with vehicles crashing. Okay, remember Thanksgiving Eve, that vehicle that crashed into the border crossing between the US and Canada just north of Niagara Falls, and it was chalked up as a stuck accelerator pedal. Well, now we have a vehicle crashing into the gate of the White House, guys. Okay, so it's getting worse and worse. Okay, the chances of an attack here in the US are very, very high. The FBI, the DHS, the National Counterterrorism Center put out a statement before Christmas saying that the chances of terrorism here in the US are at an all-time high, as high or higher than before 9/11, and they're only going to get worse as the war in the Middle East expands, which it will. Okay, this war in the Middle East is going to expand. Okay, Israel has taken out all the top leaders of these terrorist groups, and they're going to want revenge. Okay, the Hezbollah guy that was taken out today, the Iranian guy that was taken out, the second in command of Hamas. Okay, and then we have the situation in the Red Sea. Okay, so it's getting bad. Okay, make sure you're preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually, and keep the nation of Israel and the Jewish people in your prayers because they are being persecuted by the forces of Satan right now. Okay, so I want to also show you some footage here coming from Dallas. These are the pro-Palestinian protesters protesting near the tarmac where Air Force One just landed this evening, and a bunch of these protesters were arrested. So it's continuing to escalate. These pro-Palestinian protesters are getting more and more aggressive. They're shutting down bridges. Okay, last night the Williamsburg Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge were shut down, and people were arrested. The pro-Palestinians were arrested. Okay, we had the airports that were shut down during the holidays. It's getting worse and worse, guys. And on top of that, our sun is very active right now. We have a lot of sunspots that are facing Earth. Look at all these sunspots, guys. These are all facing us. If any one of these sunspots erupts with a solar flare, we could be looking at power outages and radio communication failures. Okay, we have probably half a dozen sunspots right here. Okay, some really big ones like 3540 and 3536, which gave off an X 5.0 class solar flare, the strongest solar flare since September 10th, 2017. Okay, so that's the latest information that I have, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these updates. And until tomorrow, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.